Low budget, no budget. Come with me, I'll show you some more. Paul McKay, Danny Mason from The Moment Trap.
Hello.
Take a look at him.
I've spoken to Bill, Jed. It has to be the warden who's patches on to keep it legal. And of all the fucking wardens in London, it's got to be him.
Jed, did Bill tell you I've got a lift coming up?
I told him, you spanner. All your boss can tell anyone is how fucking legal it is.
It's me. Low budget, no budget. Here we go.
You're not allowed to say that bit. I say that bit. You can say that bit.
What's
Try
your
it.
catchphrase? Isn't it?
Try it. To camera now. Low budget.
Low budget, no budget.
That's only one bit of it.
Come with me. I forgot the main bit, didn't I?
During the filming of The
Sorry,
Moment
me
Trap, we
lines.
had many of Paul's lines that were not that bit, not that bit, not that bit. But we put it all down to his age because he's been a successful actor in what were some of your performances in?
Oh, NCS Manhunt was probably the last and best thing I did for the BBC.
In the BBC. And how many years ago was that?
Too many. 20.
20. And how old are you
20
now?
years. 94.
No, you were not. You're still young, still young. So, what was it like filming The Moment Trap?
It was very good. I enjoyed it. It was great to be doing stuff again. Yeah, it was. I was amazed actually at how professional you were, how it all came together so very quickly, from going out and about looking at places to possibly film and initially starting to try and raise money through various different forms.
And what did you think about the budget that we were using and what we got for the budget?
Well, the budget was quite close to your heart. Your cards were close to your chest, I think. I thought that obviously you could have done with more money all the time, but however much you have gets used up and some. Everything I've worked on, certainly in the BBC, the budget it's been a good budget, but it's gone quite rapidly. And I was very impressed at what you did with what you had.
And so if we'd have had another 10,000, another 50,000, another 150,000, what more would you have thought, well, we could have got that, that would have been better because we'd have got these other things with more money?
That's difficult to say. Looking at the film now, the way it's been, and I still haven't seen it in its entirety, done and edited, but all the rushes that I saw, I was thinking, wow, it's not a low budget film. It doesn't look like that.
So where's the money go on other high budget films?
Well, you'd have paid me more.
Good point. Yeah. The wages were low. They were very low.
Very low.
What's the main thing? What do you think is the most important thing about making a low budget, no budget film?
Having a good team around you, for one. People that are ready to jump in and do anything, whatever, whenever. That helps. And you've certainly got some very good people around you.
Yeah.
That have done just that. I'm just totally impressed, really, Steve, with the way everything came together.
What do you think about the value of where we start with the screenplay? How we decide whether that's going to actually work? And you read probably some early drafts of The Moment Trap, and incidentally, Paul and I did lots and lots of pre-production on The Moment Trap, often in the pub late at night. Lots of things that you'll see towards the end of The Moment Trap. Some of the real key points that we've had people watch The Moment Trap, and at the end of the film they've gone, didn't see that coming, you've got me, with things that Paul and I, which we won't necessarily discuss, he'll have to see the film to talk about that, but there were things that were over a late night beer where we'd come out and say, oh my God, we've got to do that. Long after the screenplay had been virtually finished, these were small things that we were writing in towards the end that have made a massive difference. But what do you think about how we decide, will this screenplay work, won't it work? How do we adapt and craft the story into something that becomes special?
Well, that's, from the off, when I read the first script that you sent me over, I was taken aback by it because it was very gritty, fast-paced, it moved along quickly, it was engaging, I liked the characters you had in it, it was something I hadn't seen before, particularly certainly with the use of the wardens and what have you. And I just thought, this could be good fun, and certainly good fun to do, and I can see it working. And there's, and it just evolved even more as you started down the path of making it. It changed bits here and there, and all works. And you chopped it around as well, from what I read initially to what is now on the screen.
Yeah.
It's all there, it's all the same, but it's not necessarily in the same order.
No. But it does still function, and we think it works as a great. I'm pleased with what we've got. We're looking for people to say that it was an okay film. I think it's an okay film, and then we need to let the audiences judge whether or not it's an okay film or not, really. But I think when you're making low budget, no budget films, if you can get people to say, okay, yeah, it was all right, I'm sure we've all paid before to go to see a film and come out and gone, it was all right, it was okay, it was fine. And also we paid good money to see films that we weren't sure about, we didn't necessarily like, and the audiences are massive out there. But I think with low budget filmmaking, what we have to remember all the time is that we're asking for a piece of somebody's life. You've got to dedicate part of your life, and you've got to pay some dosh as well to actually sit down and watch what someone's gone out and said, this is great. And so we owe an awful lot to the audience there. So we need to make it the best that we can, so that there's some value comes back from them, which I think with the stuff that we did on the run up to shooting and the things that we changed, I think they made the film. I think the conversations that we had over beers late at night, I don't think anything works unless it's over beers somehow. It really doesn't. I think that's the thing that makes it in the end. Certainly for me, on the process of going through the film, like you were a big support. Obviously, producer Greg's there beside me all the way, but you were there as a constant source of support in how we crafted the story and made things better from the screenplay. And the rewrites were ongoing. Constantly it was a rewrite. And so, I think moving forward, how would we decide what the next screenplay is? Where do you find the next story? Where do other people making films say, I've got this other story? And where do you decide this is the one we're going to go with? Because that's the thing with low budget, no budget filmmaking. And we're looking at low budget filmmaking. We're considering that to be anything up to £1.5 million, $2 million, around about that.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it would have been nice.
It would have been nice.
You'd have been paid more.
I would have, yeah.
Maybe double. That still wouldn't have been a great help, even double on the budgets that we had.
Yeah, no, it's a difficult one.
On the other projects that you've worked on, what's the difference where you're working with the BBC and then on a low budget, no budget project? What's the difference that you noticed from the early parts of your career to now, where you say, well, that was very different? And for example, I guess the BBC would shut down streets to film. We didn't shut down streets. We didn't have the budget.
Everything is done prior to you getting there, and everything. Some of the street scenes that we filmed in this, the blocking of the cars, etc. I mean, that was we were on a limb there with that one. Really, it was a bit close to the knuckle, some of it, but great, and that's how you did it for such little money. The BBC would have shut that road down, and it would have all been done. You'd had allocated times. Yeah. Everything would have been. I mean, you were working with cars that were totally nothing to do with the set driving past.
Yeah.
That just wouldn't happen with BBC. It's every car that goes past. And certainly what I've filmed with them, it was staged. It's meant to be there.
An element of luck that.
Yeah.
How much luck?
And there was some bad luck as well, wasn't there? If you remember.
In cars not being moved and things like that? Someone parking in the way?
The angry driver, didn't we?
The angry driver who wouldn't move his car,
but it worked at the end of the day. It came out really well, I think.
I think even with the weather, all of that, there was an element of luck in there to get what we'd got. But if that hadn't been on our side, would it have changed the film? It wouldn't have changed the story. We may have not got what we wanted to get, maybe. But I think riding with an element of luck in there has definitely helped. We didn't have as much control over our set as we would have had. However, the cost for shutting down that main road and the extra expense on that road would have, I mean, what number would you have put on shutting down that road and the extra cars we'd have needed to show a busy road?
It would have ramped the price up considerably. And I think you have to take risks like that, calculated risks, especially doing it low budget, no budget.
Yeah. Important thing.
The car park was another classic.
Where was that? Where the car park was?
Can I mention the car park for the night shoot?
Oh, the night shoot. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Well, I mean that was we could have so easily got in, done what we had to do, and got out, but they ended up this. Well, you were on the phone, weren't you, to the council? And
I was on the phone to the CEO of the parking company that, incidentally, they've got a credit in the film because they allowed us to film in the evening after everything had kind of gone and shut down. But the CEO of the company, I think they'd got hold of her and she was in a cab and she said, look, you're all there now and just go for it. There weren't any health and safety risks anywhere with anything that we did. I don't think we risked health and safety anywhere. Our AD, Tom, was absolutely mustard on all of that, and I don't think it's worth compromising, risking any type of health and safety issues. So there wasn't anything that we did that I can remember that was risky. Can you?
No, I'm sure that there was a couple of the members that we brought in, or you brought in, camera crew in particular, that they had nothing to do with health and safety, but they had a few issues with the way some things were being dealt with.
I think so.
Lying about you having staffing issues, or
whether we had extras. I think whether or not some issues were, have we got extras to play these roles that are a man in a jacket, a man covered up, where we were quite happy to put a member of the crew in there. We wouldn't see their face. They didn't have any lines. They were concerned that hadn't been properly dealt with, and although we dealt with it immediately, and I think where those issues were there, we picked up those issues and immediately we were onto that, and that was dealt with very quickly, and it all worked smoothly and everybody jumped on board, and it was all
so all that side of things is like what, when I've worked with like the BBC, it's all done and dusted. Everyone knows who's going to be doing what, where they are, and it just seems totally far more orchestrated.
Yeah, absolutely.
But having said that, I came into this expecting it to be quite a lot of chaos going on. In at the deep end. Here we go. But it wasn't like that at all. It was far more organised than I anticipated, even down to food and lunch breaks and stuff like that. It was, wow, okay. You can really do this with low budget, no budget.
Absolutely, and you've worked on some of those high budget things with the BBC, knowing that we're working on a very, very low budget. We still had, the guys that were doing the training for the fight scenes, the uses of guns, everyone being notified that we're using guns in streets. We were using parking areas that we needed to inform the local councils. So all of those things were all done. It wasn't a kind of wing it as such. It was still all being followed up.
Yeah.
And all on a low budget, no budget.
Yeah, you have to do things like that, especially when arms are being used, firearms.
Some of your best bits for your character in the moment trap, what were they?
Don't know.
I'll
have to watch it and let you know.
Did you have any lines that you liked that you thought, I like that line?
Well, I seem to swear quite a lot.
You fucking owe me. And of all the fucking wardens in London, it's got to be him. All your boss can tell anyone is how fucking legal it is. You should be shaking like the only turkey at Christmas, you fucking Jobsworth. Now fuck off. This has got to look right, Jed. Otherwise we're fucked. Don't even say it's fucking...
It was like really good just to be back and doing something. To pick out any line in particular.
I thought I always remembered you liked Caught and Tied Up. Naughty.
That was, yes.
Well, caught and tied up. Naughty.
Yeah.
I think because you had a gun in your hand and was waving that around, telling everyone to do what they were doing with it.
And actually, one of my lines that I quite liked ended up on the cutting room floor.
What was that one?
That was, it was to the, what was the line now? Something about a cat or something.
A cat.
Something about a cat. Oh, you're testing my memory.
A cat?
I can't remember.
There was.
There's a Sammy cat. That was Greg's line.
Oh, no. I don't take pets.
I don't take pets. That was it. No,
Everything
cat
you now own in the world is
belongs to
mine.
me.
Cash, cars, clothes. Everything you own in the world is now mine.
The world is
Belongs to
mine.
me.
Cars, cash, clothes, everything.
Everything, and I don't take.
And I don't take pets. And that was cut.
On the floor. That was my favourite line.
I have nothing to.
You might get it in the outtakes.
If you subscribe, we'll send you that. You can see that line. Yeah. There was quite a lot of chopping around with lines, in not just in your
Yeah,
role.
no,
but
there
in
was,
others, yeah.
and yeah, rightly so.
So when are you going to watch a screening of the film?
Well,
Do you have an issue with seeing a screening of the film? Would you rather not? The film where we're sitting now, the film will be out within 2 or 3 weeks. Would you rather get it online and watch it at home, or would you rather do a
well, I
screening?
will get it online and watch it at home because my kids are desperate to see it. But I would like to see it, I guess.
On this big
I
screen
find
in
it-
here,
Yeah, on that big screen there.
that one there.
Yeah, I've never been keen on watching myself on the screen, but I'd
I mean,
like to see the film.
you don't have to. We've
in
given
itself.
other, the rest of the cast of. There's only you that's left, really. I think that's not done it yet.
I'm keen. I'm
keen?
keen.
Um,
No, we'll do that. We'll arrange it.
whenever's good for
A
you.
few more beers.
You don't need beers to watch the screening, but popcorn maybe. You don't need the beers to watch that. It's a good film, so
No,
and you've got to judge it, as well,
yes.
because you've not seen the final cut with all the trimmings. You've not seen the film with all of the score,
No, I
Have you?
haven't. No.
the grading. I don't think you've seen any of the grading. Nothing on it at all. No. So I'd be intrigued to see what you think of it now when it's finished. So
Yeah, no, I'm keen to see it for that point of view because looking at the rushes originally, I thought, a lot of it. How are you going to improve on that?
well, yeah.
Um,
And as far as the
clearly
budget
they
go,
have.
even though like wages for actors in this film, they weren't terrible. It wasn't for nothing. They were days rates of pay, but not what you would
I
expect.
did it for love.
You did it for love. You did do it for
love.
love. I know you did. But that's because we're friends and that's what we do. We picked out. We got some lovely little shots of you as the parking thing starts to fail. There's a great. I love the shot of Paul where he's sitting there and his lip just goes up slightly. Do you remember that? You're just sitting there staring, watching your plan fail, and I don't know where it's cut from in the lines, but we just saw this, and there's just this kind of little movement on your lip that he's going to have a few tears in a minute, and he's pissed off now. That was a shot that I always loved. That shot. Do you know the one I mean? Yeah. It's a still. You're just staring ahead of yourself, and it's like we know your plans screwed. Basically, you've lost it. And yeah, that was a great little bit for me to see that. I don't think it was in context with the screenplay. I think we chopped it from somewhere else, but it worked fine. It worked fine.
It's probably me at the lunch.
Well, and it was a baking hot day. It was over 30 degrees.
I know.
Outside, and I think it was well over 30 degrees in that car. And the whole thing was you sweating your nuts off. But of course, from what we saw, he looks like he's sweating his nuts off because his plan's all failing. It's all going up the pictures, which it was. And some of your more interesting bits towards the end of the film that were some of Paul's more unpleasant things that happened to him. There was one part there where I thought that where they were going through a scene where Paul's being whipped in a kind of not a particularly nice way, where we were doing the run through with the stunt coordinators, and I was in exactly the right place to actually believe that in the rehearsal he'd actually been whipped on his back, and I just instantly thought, that's got him, and that's the end of it. We're done. Our money's gone down the drain because we've just properly whipped him on his bare back.
I've still got the scar.
With a jumping. Don't say that. You haven't lied. Patch him up. Put him back together. You know, as the DP says, well, we didn't. That's shut the project down now, and the AD says, I'm calling an ambulance, and we're trying to get him back to health somehow. You know, the smell of TCP flows out of every corridor. He's fine. Carry on. Makeup. We don't need any more makeup. That's fine. We've got it all for real. Did a good job. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you. Low budget, no budget. Come with me. I'll show you some more.